So it says, and he brought him unto him. And when he saw him, straightway the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground and wild and foaming. And he asked his father, how long ago is it since this came unto him? And he said, from a child. And often it had cast him out into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou can believe, if thou can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believe. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe. Help thy my unbelief. And for our topic today, just I believe. I believe. So when we look at this text, we find here a couple of things going on. The disciples had went before Jesus into an area of the city. And when they came into a great multitude, we find that they got into the scribes and all the host and all those people that were around them. And the Bible tells us in verse 14, it says, and the scribes and the multitude about them, the scribes, they questioned with them. And right there, there's something that's significant right there, that the disciples, even though they walked with Jesus, when they got around folk that they felt that they thought knew better than what was going on with their lives, they forgot about who Jesus was because they questioned with them, not against them, didn't abstain from them, they questioned with them. Too often in our own lives, we question when we get around folk, well, God, I don't know if we're going to do it. We find Caleb, Joshua went through the same thing. What does the field look like for us? And the other tribes or the other leaders that were against us said, no, it's too hard for us. Even though the promise is there, it's too difficult for us to obtain. And so we find that this man that had difficulty with his child, he had a dumb spirit. And so they asked the disciples to cast out these spirits because you walked with Jesus. You walked with God. You've been in the presence of God. So you should have the same ability and power as God has. And so they tried and were not able to do it. And too often we get in ourselves, we get the same situation going on. We get around folk and then we're not into the presence of God, and instead of saying we got to step back and let me fast and pray about this thing, we will go and try to do things and then say, well, because my belief, I don't know if we can do it because it's too hard for me to obtain. You know, some things are just too difficult. You know, life situations, life circumstances, some things are just too hard right now. You know, let's wait a little while. Maybe, you know, let me get myself together so then I'll go to school, or let me get myself together, or, you know, I just need to do things. I need to get things right before I go and do this thing that you're asking me to do. And too often we get shortchanging ourselves and who we are in God just because of that. And Jesus even called the disciples out and said, oh, faithless one. So you can't do this. He says, you're a generation. How long shall I be with you, and how long shall you endure and bring this unto me? He said, how long are you going to go through this? That you're going to mix yourself up with people that don't believe what you believe, that you're going to get around folk and they don't have the same faith that you have. How long are you going to mess yourself up and be despondent when you get around folk and then you ask me for something, but because you touched and agreed with somebody else, I couldn't be in the midst because you didn't agree with what I was trying to do in your life. You didn't agree what even you wanted in your life. You can't ask somebody for a Mercedes-Benz blessings with a Yugo faith. It doesn't work that way. I know some of y'all are out of order, like, what's a Yugo? But if you look it up on YouTube, you'll find it. But you got to be in the right spirit, and you have to connect with the right people in order to access and understand how it is to live a life of expectancy. This man has been going through and been difficult and been bothered. He's seen his child in these situations that he was foaming at the mouth, disease, rolling into the fire, rolling into the flood. So he saw his son damaging himself every day of his life ever since he was a child. Every day he saw these circumstances, but he did not give up hope. It says here, he says, I saw this often destroy him. He says, but out of this, cast them out. He says, because my compassion have it on us and help us. You got to look at where your compassion is. You got to connect with people that have the same like compassion. Because if you don't connect with the same like people of compassion, you're going to get despondent. You're going to get ridiculed because, oh, why you believe in that? Why should you trust God for that if you can't even get this? You're trying to acquire this and you're trying to acquire that, and you can't even do the simple things in your life. You can't even take care of your own child. You can't do all these things that you need in order to get or obtain it. And now you are sitting here asking God for this? How dare you? And so now we get to the point right here where it says you have to look at your compassion and help on us. Help on us. And Jesus even told him, it says, if you can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Now, if Jesus told me this, I would get a little despondent myself. God, I've been dealing with this with my child all these years. I've been dealing and going through this all my life. You think I don't believe? See, sometimes we got to look at who we are for the essence of the things that we're asking God for. We can't just sit there and say, God, you know, I'm trusting you, I'm believing you, and then we start to doubt, because doubt is a sin. And so we got to look and say, God, I trust you, I believe you, more than I believe in myself. And when we start getting that type of attitude, we can go to God and understand, God, yeah, you are the author and the finisher of my faith. You are the one that is in control. You are the one that is working it out on my behalf. And so that's why we got to get into the right spirit of when we're asking about getting excited about compassion. You can't have a mundane attitude and think you got compassion. You got to get excited about what God is doing in your life. Because if you're not getting excited, how is somebody else supposed to get excited about what God is doing? How is somebody else supposed to touch and agree with you when you walking around and thinking, well, I don't know, I've been dealing with this for a minute now. I don't know if God's going to do it for me. I don't know. No, you got to shore yourself up and say, God, you are the one that is in control of my life. God, you are the one that is making ways out of no way. God, you are the one. Because even in Lamentations 33, in verse 22 and 21, he says, this I recall in my mind, that therefore I shall have hope. He says, when I think back over my life, God, and how you work things over in my life, when I think about it and I recall all the things that even when the danger is seen and unseen, God, you worked and operated on my behalf. God, you were in the midst of my situation, even when I didn't know. When I recall over those things, he says, God, I know it was because of your Lord's mercies, God, I was not consumed. I was not ate up by my situation, by the devil, by circumstances, God. I was able to be triumphant because you said in your word that I am supposed to be triumphant in all things. And so when I understand, God, that I'm not consumed, and because my compassion did not fail me, when I understand how much my compassion means to me, my love for you and my love for what, God, you're doing in me and how it's working and operating outside of me. God, your compassion, because your compassion failed not, so mine shouldn't either. And so I got to accept where I am and who I am in God, so that I know my compassion won't fail, because God will never fail. I fail myself before God would ever fail me. I have to understand what God is doing in my life, and I have to recognize how he's doing it, and not just why he's doing it, because why he's doing it is irrelevant. Why he's doing it, because he's God. No matter what circumstances he puts us in, God, he knows that he makes a way of escape after each and every opportunity. We have to access God. Because if we understand how to access God, God gives us more grace. And the only way we access God through more grace is by our faith. And we have to recognize what God is doing, because here's the thing. The man even said, he said, God, I believe, but you got to help me with my unbelief. And that's the honest question that God doesn't have a problem answering. God, I believe you for this, but I just don't understand if I got it. God, I trust you for it, but I don't know if I can endure it. God, I love you for it, but God, I don't know if I can sustain it. God, I got to get some help. Help me where the areas that I don't believe. Because if you fall into people and say, I believe God, oh, God is this and God is that and God is this and God, yeah. But what are the areas that you don't trust God? That's what I need you to teach. What are the areas that you don't understand if God is going to make a way of escape for you? That's where I need you to trust God. That's what I need you to go and fast and pray about. What are those other areas, God, that show me, God? Show me so that I can work on the sin that wants to set inside of me. Show me how I can make a way of escape and understand that you take the temptation out of my mouth so that I can articulate your word in truth and endurance and purity and be excited about it. Because God, you are the one that freed me from it. I'm not held down by a yoke of bondage. Why? Because God, I believe. So I want to trust you for the areas that I don't believe. I want to trust you in my marriage, God, because I don't understand why it's going this way. I really don't know why we can't communicate the way we need to communicate. God, but I trust you in this area. So show me what it is that I need to do, that I can touch the very essence of your presence in a difficult time in situations when I'm communicating with her or him, when I recognize that I'm going through some crisis in my own relationships, when I understand, God, that I have some difficult days. But God, I want to see in those difficult days, make it the best day because I promise I trust you. I have to understand, God, that my relationship with you is more meaningful than my reason in dealing with my situation. I have to believe you beyond what I see. That's where my faith is. It's beyond my own understanding of where you are in the situation, in the midst of my circumstances. I see what you're doing in my life because you gave me a narrow path to walk in. Even when I wanted to go left and right, God, you steered me in this direction. So God, show me the place where you want me to go. So I recognize and understand, God, that when I get to that place, I met the destination of where that part of my destiny lies. So I can get excited about it. So I can tell the world about who you are in me. Help me, not with what I believe, God, but help me with my unbelief. So that I can see, God, that I don't have to live by my insecurities. I don't have to question my identity and interpretation of who God is in my life. That when other people speak to me, they don't speak to the situation of my circumstances. They speak into the presence of who you are in me. So God, help me. Show me. Make me mighty in understanding of God, you are the one that abstains all appearances of evil. God, I just need to walk in it. God, I need to be the one that knows how to forgive when it's so hurtful. God, I need to be the one that can have confidence and compassion when the other person doesn't. God, show me how to be the best me that you made and created me to be. God, don't let me be hid by my sin. But let me reveal and expose the presence of God that you have that resonates within me. Show me the power, God. Show me that power is not by strength or might, but it's by availability. And if I make myself available to you, God, then you will make my ability to grow. But I got to understand, God, that I believe you. This just married this thing that is working on me. I just don't understand. Help me in this area of my life so that I can show God that you are God and God only. That no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So that I can show that yeah, weapons do come. But God, you are still fighting on my behalf. God, you are my shield and my battle axe. God, you are the one that allows me to be triumphant. God, you are the one that makes all things well. God, you are the one that allows me to move in the directions that I'm moving in. You are the one, even when I stray away. God, you said you lead me to the paths of righteousness for your name's sake. So God, I'm doing everything because of your name's sake. Not because of me, not because of my inadequacies, God, but because, God, you are who you are. And there's none like you. Amen. 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 So I thank God for his word today. I do pray that, God, it has fallen on fertile soil. And so at this time, I would like to open it up. There it is.